Hi guys, name's Ryan. Guys have been asking, on Facebook, the past, present, future Maumee River Walleye Runs group about making your own floating jig heads. Figured I'd do a little video. When I got into doing this, I looked all over the internet for a video of how to make floating jig heads, or what you use to make floating jig heads, and nobody had anything on there. There was some kid on there that had, like, I think using foam earplugs to make a floating jig head, which at Maumee is probably not going to work the greatest. A gentleman on Facebook called or messaged me, and he said he gets his EPS beads from Hagen's Fish. I said, well, what's EPS beads? He says expanded polystyrene. It's a craft grade polystyrene resin, and they're about, I would say, maybe the size of shot peen or grains of salt, like little grains of salt. Comes in a bucket, two gallon bucket. It's just like, I don't know. I say it feels like not salt, but grains of sand, like, sandblasting sand, but they're round. They're little round beads. You can get this from, like I said, hagensfish.com. They're out of Mitchell, South Dakota. This stuff is originally used to make duck decoys and plugs, like crankbaits. This bucket here, the 2 gallon bucket, will make 750 crankbaits. I don't know what size, but it said 750. But I was told every pound will make 1,000 jig heads. I went through half of one of these buckets already last year, and then I gave the rest of it away or sold it to a buddy of mine. I made 2,500 jigs out of just a little under half a bucket. So I mean, that's a lot of jigs, and we had like 10 molds going at a time. So we did it over a couple of weeks, me and a friend of mine. But you'll need the expanded polystyrene bead resin. That's your main thing for that. Your dual molds and your hooks. I go with the mustad hooks, and like I said, in a 2/0, because the 2/0 from tip to shank, like the shank of the hook to the tip, is a 1/2 inch. That is your legal gap at the Maumee. You can't have anything bigger than that. You can have it smaller, but you can't have it any bigger. Eagle claw hooks, they'll work, but Eagle claw hooks have a little bit of a flex to them, and I don't like that on a hook. I'd rather have a little bit more stouter hook. Load them in your mold just like you would any other, hook. Run them down. You'll have your little line coming through where the jig head is. There's a line in there cut into the mold that you'll lay your hooks into all the way down through. Me, I modified mine a little bit. I took a triangle rat tail file, small little detailer's file, and I went through there a couple times, kind of opened it up a little bit. That way, when you close your mold, it's closed tight, and you don't have any gap in between there. I was having problems with my mustad hooks fitting in my one mold, so I just notched it out a little bit further, and it worked fine. You'll load your molds up. Once you, like I said, take your mold, close it up with your hooks in it. Take and get a small C-clamp. They're about $1.50. Tighten your mold up with it. Don't crank it all the way down, but take your handles off because they will burn up in your oven. Set it down. You've got a sprue hole in there where you pour your lead in originally. I pour the beads in. I just use a shotgun shell. I'll fill it up, and then I'll just slowly go down through there, fill it up till it's at the bottom of that sprue hole. And then I'll take just a dowel rod, and I'll hit the ends of them, both ends, up and down, a few times. Pound on it. That way it settles all them little beads down in there, and you get a good, fill on them. Because if you don't, you'll have it come out, and if you don't do that, and you say there's an air pocket in there or something, you'll have a head come out half, formed, and there's nothing else left on it. Heat your oven up to 370 degrees. You'll put your molds in there for 20 minutes. Leave them in there for the full 20 minutes. When that 20 minutes is up, get you a bucket, like a 5 gallon bucket, or say a sink, fill it about halfway full of water. Take your molds, leave the clamp or the C-clamps and everything on them, drop them down, or don't drop them in there, but put them in the water. Let them cool off for about 5 or 10 minutes. Once you go and you get all them opened up, or them, you know, out of the thing, or your water's in. Let them dry off for a little bit, kind of shake them off, get all the moisture out of them. Well, you'll open up your mold, and all your hooks and your jigs will be in there just like a lead head. You'll have a little sprue on the end of it. You'll just pop that little sprue out. After they're cooled off, they'll pop right out of your mold. If you have a little discoloration on them, like say that one looks a little dirty or whatever, it's just because this mold hadn't been used in a while and it had a little bit of like corrosion or something on it. Just run them. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. You're gonna paint them anyways. I think I did. Yeah, I said 370 degrees on that. It'll come with instructions on either baking it or boiling it. I don't like boiling them. It's a mess. Plus, you have to find something that you gotta plug up after you fill it. You gotta plug the holes up or rubber band them and stuff. It's just more hassle. Me, I clamp them. I put my hooks in and clamp them, fill them up, set them in the oven like, well, you know, again on the rack and stuff. Let them do their thing. When I get them out, I drop them in the water, cool them off, open them up. I'm done. Another tool, a couple tools that you're gonna want when you pull your head, the jig head out. It's gonna have a little piece of extra, like foam, that piece that expands out, stuck to it. I use a pair of these little small tiny wire cutters. They're really, really fine and real sharp. They're like these ones here. They're for fine copper wire. These ones are Fiskars. They work pretty good, but I found out I bought a cheapy pair from like Harbor Freight. These seem to work a lot better, especially after you sharpen them up with a whetstone. Just clip them off. They'll look like that after you're done. When I was talking about molds, Series 2 molds, there's a Series 2 mold. If you look, you see the barb on it's a lot bigger. This is a Series 4 mold. It's just a little triangle barb, a little chintzy triangle barb. I wish if someone from Do It Molds sees this video, make these again. These other ones ain't worth a crap. I don't like the newer molds. They're cheapening them up. I mean, when they're doing their machining and stuff, it's just not as good as machining as I think it should be. But I think you'll have, if you don't have the molds already, a mold's about 35 bucks. I think they're pretty average on their price. 43 something, like 43.95 for a 2-gallon bucket of EPS beads. Mustad hooks for 100 of them. They'll be around anywhere between $5 and $7 for 100 of them. I think when I figured it out, if I make with my hooks and making jigs, I can make them for about 20 cents or so a piece. Hey, get out of trash. Sorry, my stupid dog's over there trying to be a trash digger. But I mean, it's cheaper if you have the stuff than it is just to buy it. But once you buy it, you got, you know, your materials and stuff. You can make them for days, and then you can even buy, like I said, the crankbait, you know, forms. Do crankbaits and everything else. All you do is you buy the little skeleton piece that goes inside of them. I'm trying to think. I'm getting ready, guys, making me a mold so I can make catfish floats out of the EPS beads. I just got to figure out what kind of tube inserts I'm going to put in them. This stuff, it's easy to work with. It's non-toxic. If you put it in your oven and you kind of smell it a little bit, it's not like toxic or anything to you. You know, just don't. If your wife's gonna get mad at you, don't do it in her oven. Especially if that's her baby, you're better off not going that way, going there. Or say if you're a lady fisherman and your husband gets mad that you're using the oven, you know, just deny him some food for a couple of days. Another thing that I want to kind of touch on, it doesn't really go with this. I mean, I know these molds will come out hot. Just be careful with them. You'll burn yourself. But when you're on the river, safety. Safety, safety, safety on that river. If you don't respect that river, it will kill you. About, I think 4 years ago now, I was up there. It was like the first time I went back since I was like in my teens. And, we were sitting around Buttonwood area, and a guy fell in probably in his 60s, and he never came back up. They found him about 4 or 5 miles downriver, floating. There was a couple guys that tried to go after him, Some guys tried, hooking him with the hook, snagging him, trying to get him in. It didn't work. He went down and never came back up. Just be cautious out there. Also, if someone's having problems out there and they've never been on the river, or it's their first time on the river, or say they're fishing on the bank over on Towpath or Ford Street or whatever, help them out. I mean, we're all sportsmen and fishermen. We're there to help each other, teach each other. I know there's a gentleman last year that he was out there with the Zebco 33, split shot, 10-pound Berkeley Trilene, and a handful of floating jig heads. And he only had green grubs. Wasn't catching nothing, wasn't catching nothing. I mean, we were using pink and all kinds of, everybody was using different colors and catching a few fish, and he just wasn't getting it. Helped him out. Within 20 minutes, he caught 2 fish right off the bat. Not monsters, but to him, he was probably one of the most grateful people on the river that day. And I just told him, I said, you just got to feel for the fish, I mean, with that kind of rod, it's hard to feel. Me, I use a solid graphite rod. I like it because it's a little sensitive. I may have 150 maybe in my whole setup. I think it was like 100 for the reel and like 40 or 50 for the rod. But you don't have to be rich to be out there. $50 pair of waders, $80 in a rod and reel maybe, if not even that, and some floating jig heads and stuff. You could be out in the river having fun catching them. I mean, I seen a guy out there with his kid. Kid was 13 years old, first time he ever fished on the river, or she fished on the river, and it was 3 years ago. She pulled in a 13-pound female walleye. Everybody was yelling at her, throw it back, it's a female. And I looked at the one guy, I said, that's her first walleye. I said, she needs to keep it, because if she ain't going to be fishing much, that right there don't happen all the time. I mean, it was pretty cool to see that. But just safety, guys, and be courteous to people out there. And I don't know, maybe see you guys on the river. If you guys recognize me, come up, say, hey, I liked your video, or hey, your video was crap. Give me some feedback on it. It's been a long day where I work, and this rain coming in doesn't help it anymore. I just wish it would stop raining and get warm so we could be on the river. But God bless, guys. Like I said, my name's Ryan. Ryan Headings. It's Headings and Ryan. If you have any questions, just look me up on Facebook, or look me up on Maumee River Walleye Run, past, present, future, and send me a message on there or something, and I'll answer your questions. All right, thanks, guys.